Hey there, besties. Given the recent events of Carlee Russell, a lot of you have been mentioning the name Tawanna Brawley. I thought this would be a good time to go ahead and revisit that case. I'm actually about to play a documentary from the New York Times, pretty credible source, with regard to what happened back in November 1987. At this time in 87, everyone was mesmerized by Tawanna Brawley, the Tawanna Brawley story. She was a young African-American girl from NYC who claimed she was the victim of a brutal racial attack by a group of white men. The case ignited a firestorm of protest, media coverage, and debates about racism and justice in America. Cut to today, when you take a look and think of the Carlee Russell case, which not necessarily had anything to do with race, but the pro-blacks, specifically people like Tamika Mallory, who jumped in, believed whatever a black woman said, and went with it with no evidence whatsoever, except for she said it, so it must be true. Al Sharpton jumped in with Tawanna Brawley, along with her lawyers, of course, and just said, she said it, so it must be true. No evidence. Whoever was accused. They moved forward. Lives were changed and altered. Everything is about race. Wash, rinse, and repeat. I feel like that's what we do today. Not we, but that's what's done today on a regular basis. Don't let it be anyone that's not black and a black person says that they did something. It's going to blow up and it's going to be a cause of, it's because I'm black. This is one of the reasons why I have issues with pro-black. You have to start looking at facts of cases and not just because someone is black or white. Also need to take a look at how this is parallel to not only Carlee, but also to Jussie Smollett.
Tawanna Brawley is a 16-year-old girl whose story is the talk of New York these days.
The New York State teenager who claims that she was abducted and raped by 6 white men.
In the late 1980s, Tawanna Brawley became a household name as her horrific stories spread across the nation.
She had KKK written across her chest and nigger across her stomach,
Leading to widespread outrage.
We want to expose the facts in these crimes that you do against black people.
And intense soul searching about race in America.
Let Miss Brawley represent what we're not going to stand for as parents, as Americans, and as human beings.
But how did investigators discover the truth behind the Brawley rape, and what is its legacy today?
I think that the lessons of Brawley is very instructive for me and others, but I think that people want to cut off the lessons where they want.
In November 1987, a news story from a small town 70 miles north of New York City shocked the nation.
Special segment tonight, the Tawanna Brawley case. She was found wrapped in a plastic bag, by some accounts, sexually assaulted.
The 16-year-old cheerleader said she'd been abducted 4 days earlier and had been repeatedly raped and sodomized.
She was found in a fairly frightening state. She had a pair of sneakers that had been cut with a razor. Her hair seemed matted and covered with feces. There was writing on her chest. The jeans that she had were burnt in the crotch. It was like this is not a normal state to find someone.
More unsettling was the...
Now that sounds pretty bad. 1987, New York City. They have their own set of issues in that particular city. All of a sudden, a black young girl is found in a plastic bag, allegedly, potentially assaulted. It just goes crazy from there. It sounds horrible. It sounds absolutely horrible. So it absolutely does need to be vetted and investigated.
Brawley made on national television about one of her attackers.
It's a cop. He was a police officer.
Brawley attracted a team of activists to her side. The Reverend Al Sharpton, C. Vernon Mason, and Alton Maddox were well known in the press, having recently focused attention on another racially charged case, the killing of a black youth who was fleeing a white mob in Howard Beach, Queens.
New York State is now the capital of racial violence.
In the Brawley case, they saw the makings of a cover-up and demanded a special prosecutor take over.
New York has been a mess over the years. It definitely has. And I'm not saying that it's in a better shape than it was before. They did have some issues. This case, Amadou Diallo, I think his name is, guy for the movie that Michael B. Jordan made. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name. There's been a lot of BS that has happened in NYC. A lot of racial tensions there. So I would definitely agree with that. And that's just from the things that I can come off the top of my head. But the question is, where have we gotten since then? Has anything gotten better? Is it worse? What has changed? What has been worked on? But how involved is the community, the Black community, with police and policing, not reactively, but proactively, outside of just protesting when something happens? I don't know. I'm just asking the question. I would think that Al, at this point in his life, would have found a better, similar way than to just always come out and start basically doing the same thing of what he just did in this video. Just rile up people and their emotions.
I was a spokesman for the legal team and the family of Miss Brawley. I was involved to help bring light on the fact that there was a situation that needed to be adjudicated.
We are not going to let this girl be the scapegoat of a corrupt system. We want to show the world how low down, dogged, and callous the state of New York is.
Brawley's advisors declared they had a suspect, a young police officer named Harry Chris Jr., who had committed suicide days after her attack.
The media now has released that Tawanna identified Chris.
What's the evidence?
Tawanna's voice on the tape identifying Chris.
With protesters taking to the...
So she said so. So the policeman deleted himself a few days after all of this. Is that because he was accused by her? And of course, all this, I can't imagine all the pressure under something like this.
streets, the state attorney general dispatched veteran investigator John Ryan to upstate New York with orders to solve the increasingly sensitive case.
We attempted immediately to sit down with Tawanna and her family, and we reached out repeatedly to her attorneys, her advisors, and that was never fruitful.
Her lawyers, it was their decision, along with her family, which I announced, that they did not want to cooperate because they did not trust the special prosecutor that was appointed by the governor.
How are you going to see what really happened or not if you don't bring someone in? It can't just be because I said so. This could be the start of why a lot of black people just think that just because they say it, that it should be, and that everyone should just believe them just because they said it and just because they're black. And a lot of the times, just because allegedly the person is white, then they definitely just should believe it because of things like this that people have seen in the past. Can't just come out here and just say this is what happened and then with no proof, and no one is supposed to look into it and everyone's supposed to rally back and believe. And in this Carlee Russell case, we can see what it does when you sit up here and you just believe what someone says without any proof just because they said it. Now you got egg on your face. And then want to be upset when people want to ask questions and get to the truth and say, okay, well, this don't make sense. Okay, well, this don't make sense. And you just say it makes sense because she's black. No, it wouldn't make sense if the person was white and they just said, oh, because they're white. It just makes sense. No. People be using race to get people all riled up instead of using some common sense, taking a step back and saying, all right, we got to ask some questions. Everybody got a right to be asking the questions, especially if you want someone to be on your side. We can't just be on people's side just because of the color of their skin. This sounds half damn crazy. And yet today, Tawanna Brawley will do that. Al Sharpton will do that.
We might send them a letter and then, they'd have a press conference.
All of a sudden, Alton Maddox pops out with this guy's name.
Her lawyers charged that Dutchess County Assistant District Attorney Stephen Pagonis was among the girl's attackers and demanded his arrest.
We have the facts and the evidence that an assistant district attorney and a state trooper did this.
A district attorney and a police officer randomly, both working together, just randomly pulled in a young black girl to do all these things because Tawanna said so. Just because they white and they prominent, bring them in, arrest them because she said so. 15 years old too. Let's not forget that she was 15 years old.
I did not ask a 15-year-old girl what happened. I believe the lawyers believed their client, and I believe that we had an obligation to go forward.
Oh, so it sounds like Al is backtracking a little bit right here. This is what their lawyer said. Oh, but wasn't that him on the loud phone? Wasn't that him in most of these photo ops? But now he's saying after the fact, all these years later, this is what the lawyer said. This is what the lawyer said. Backing up out of there real quick, I see.
Brawley's cooperation, Ryan tried to divine some clues from the initial police investigation.
In the course of the interview with the police, she literally only said one word. She would also indicate, I believe by eye blinks, they would ask her a question and she would indicate yes or no. The police officer took what they could get. She was found in a grassy area behind the building that her family had previously lived in, very near the apartment that was then vacant but unlocked. She had literally just come off being grounded because she got home at 5 in the morning from some party. She goes to visit
5 in the morning at 15 at a party. Now listen, this is New York. I know people in New York do and did things differently, but there ain't no way in the world on God's green earth that me at 15, 14, me at 18 living at home could come home at 5 a.m. from a party. So she was grounded. Back, and she was found back at the apartment that she used to live at, where the actual apartment was unlocked.
boyfriend in jail, and then she eventually takes the bus home, and that's the last time anybody saw her officially during those 4 days.
From his headquarters at the State Armory in Poughkeepsie, Ryan and his team struggled to make sense of a case that seemed to grow more complicated every day.
We were an investigation under siege.
We closed the bridge, the court, and this building, and Main Street.
The press.
That looked like Al Sharpton right there, wasn't it? That looked like him running off at the mouth and getting all into. Why don't these people ever sit down with these people that they're defending and just ask the questions and think through? Al Sharpton is a lawyer. He's legal anyway. And just because they say they did it and they were white, he just goes along with it, allegedly. Sounds very familiar with someone else who I won't say their name any longer.
It had its agenda, no offense. The advisors had their agenda, no offense. Quite frankly, we had to deal with those of us in the armory against the rest of the world.
There were scores of false leads. An acquaintance said he was with Brawley. He wasn't. A man claimed to have secret tapes that cast doubt on the veracity of Brawley's advisors. He didn't.
We started a rumor about a 9-fingered man, just to see how long it would take for a press report, to call us and start to ask about the 9-fingered man. I think it took 2 days.
But such moments of levity were brief.
The trooper starts up the steps of the armory, and these demonstrators decided they weren't going to let him in. He grabbed the demonstrator that was fighting him. Next thing we knew, Reverend Sharpton was accusing me of kicking a blind man.
We're just going to ignore the fact that the man, the black man, let's be specific, put his hands on the policeman first. We're just going to ignore. Y'all, I can't with these pro-blacks. I'm sorry. This is why I can't. Because they're going to see everything only with color. No common sense. No looking at actual facts. No asking questions. No probing. It's just, oh, they white? That's it.
That bothered me. You realize how a lie can spread.
Her advisors have said a lot the past few months, charging that white local officials were involved in the crime, not to mention the mafia, the Ku Klux Klan, and the Irish Republican Army.
So everybody was involved with Tawanna Brawley, 15 years old, wrapped in plastic. Everything that they said, DAs, police officers, the mafia, all these people were just going to toss everything to the side. Their whole life, their career, for one 15-year-old from whatever part of New York that she was from, wrap her up in plastic and drop her off in the same neighborhood that she used to live in. Nobody ever would question anything like that. Much like Carlee Russell allegedly escaping right by her house and walking up the street and knocking on the door.
Sharpton called Cuomo a racist, compared Abrams to Hitler, and said Brawley would go to jail rather than cooperate with the investigators.
That makes sense. This is Al Sharpton, they just said. Calling all these names, and I'm not going to repeat, to the people in the police department and political arena. Those names, and then say she's not going to cooperate. Well, where are we ever going to get anywhere? But it's because she's black that you all should listen to this foolishness. I'm glad y'all pointed this out to me. Shout out to y'all for bringing this up.
Maddox would actually say that the Attorney General of the state of New York was masturbating over pictures of 15-year-old Tawanna Brawley.
When they saw Maddox, Mason, and Sharpton, what's wrong with them? What was wrong with us was crackers didn't choose us.
Oh, there's some good wording right there, huh? And child, crackers didn't choose us. Okay, this is Al Sharpton. Oh Lord.
I think a lot of the rhetoric, including mine, went
Oh well, thank you for acknowledging. Now, where's the apology?
too far. But I think that there's a difference between the rhetoric and the reason we got involved.
But at the time, that reason was questioned by one of his own associates.
They are frauds from the beginning.
Well, thank you. Well, look at that. Well, look at that. Someone who had to say, now, wait a damn minute. We could be potentially still talking about this today, meaning it still be going on if and I don't know, but I'm just thinking, if you're not going to cooperate, you're not going to discuss, you're not going to work through, you just think someone gets prosecuted based on a 15-year-old girl, not even because she's 15, but we're going to go ahead and acknowledge the fact this is a 15-year-old girl because she said all these high white powered people did something and they ruined their career over a 15-year-old black girl. And because they're non-black, she should just be believed, and it's true. Believe her. Is this where Believe All Women started?
Perry McKinnon, you couldn't see Sharpton without seeing Perry McKinnon in those days. And he was with him at all times. And, he's a decorated war hero. He's all these other things.
This whole situation is not about Tawanna Brawley. It's about Mason, Maddox, and Sharpton sort of taking over the town.
Aspirations, political aspirations, career aspirations, and of course, let's not forget the racial aspect of it. Get the black people all riled up.
Their exact words were, we beat this, we will be the biggest niggas in New York.
Let's take the outside chance McKinnon is telling the truth. And by the way, did nobody corroborate that?
Wait a minute, Al. So someone needs to corroborate what he said, but no one has to corroborate what Tawanna Brawley said. I absolutely believe this man and what he just said, that's what they said. And who is the biggest N-word in New York? He might not be the biggest, but he's definitely prominent. Al damn Sharpton. I absolutely believe that they said that. I mean, first of all, it just sounds like something that would come out of someone's mouth at that point, specifically Al Sharpton. I don't really know those other two people. He the one on the daggone steps with the bullhorn talking about crackers. Why wouldn't he? And he is not like a George Jefferson type. No, he is a straight want people to get all riled up over race, no matter what, his agenda, and has that not. Al Sharpton is known for many, many things. He definitely is involved with civil rights, so I don't want to take his accolades away from him. But please don't act like he hasn't used race and still does today, in my opinion, to continue to keep his name out there, to continue to be able to show up, to continue to be able to do whatever the heck it is that he does in order to stay prominent, in order to stay in front of things, in order to stay in front of stand in front of people. We don't hear him talking about what's going on right in New York, everywhere, but specifically in the Bronx and Brooklyn, specifically with black people in the daytime, kids, gremlins out here doing whatever they want, high poverty rate, deleting people at random, no respect for anyone, what goes on in the subways, black people amongst everybody, specifically young black men, kids, boys. Where's Al on that? That's your city, Al. You're right there in it. Not a peep. Jordan Neely, here he come. Right quick. If we had heard with Carlee Russell, in my opinion, allegedly, if there was a inkling from the gate that someone white had done something to her, guarantee you, in my opinion, we would have heard from him real quick.
If I say that if I win for president when I ran, I'll be the biggest black guy in America, does that really mean that I perpetrated a lie?
As the press turned up the heat on Brawley's advisors, Ryan uncovered new clues.
The jeans she had on were burnt in the crotch, but she wasn't burnt there. The cutting in the sneaker, clearly it was done when the no foot was in the sneaker.
And if
that's like the first thing that I would have thought of. Jeans are burned, so somebody just burned the crotch area because they was laying over there on the ground. I mean, I guess it's possible, but that would be a great question, right? Now, I don't know about the shoe. Maybe they just cut up shoes because, you know, people be out here cutting up shoes whenever somebody do something they don't like and protest. But I don't know.
FBI lab agent on the case drew his attention to bits of cotton found inside the feces-smeared glove, allegedly used in the attack on Brawley.
We were having a drink, and he said to me, and the damnedest thing is we found the same thing under her fingernails. Well, I almost spit my drink out. You got burnt cotton under her fingernails, burnt cotton in the tips of the glove. There's a real good chance, you know, she's wearing those gloves.
I mean, obviously. I mean, that sounds obvious, right?
Next, Ryan said about the source of the racial epithet found on Brawley's body.
I was burning cotton in my kitchen and wasn't getting anywhere, and the burnt cotton fibers fell into the sink. And my wife, who's always been smarter than me, leaned forward, put her finger on the burnt cotton in the water, went like this, went like that. Looks like it to me. It was the last piece of the puzzle.
Today, after...
I mean, I don't understand what they just said, but I guess it will come to light eventually. He was burning cotton and the woman his wife came in and did what? I don't understand.
7 months, 6,000 pages of testimony, and 180 witnesses, a grand jury found beyond any doubt Tawanna Brawley's story is a lie.
Those allegations are untrue. The people who made those allegations lied. Their outrageous, irresponsible acts have increased the atmosphere of tension between the races.
I think that people have to advocate what they believe in.
I think people should advocate, but they also should not be lying, Al. I think that's what you wanted to say, that their story should be vetted, that questions should be asked. You can't just come out and say whatever you want and then people should be taken down. Unfortunately, it looks like that's how 2023 is with so many things, and it's not right.
I have friends right now that believe O.J. Simpson is guilty right now. Right now. And a jury said he's not.
That's all that matters. He went to trial. They said he is not guilty. That's it. That's all. But he went to trial. He had to hire lawyers. Probably almost broke from it. And we can believe whatever we want to believe. So, Al, let it go. We can only go by what we can go by. The evidence that is there. OJ is off. Plenty of people don't believe him. Plenty of people that believe that the verdict was not due, but he went to trial. He was questioned. Y'all wouldn't even allow this young lady to have anybody question her. She wouldn't answer any questions. You didn't have her do it, and you still advocating for a woman who you really don't even know the story. All you heard is black and white. Now you want to bring OJ into it. OJ ain't got nothing to do with this.
Does that mean that I think they don't have credibility? That means that I think that they have a belief that I don't share, and a jury didn't share. A grand jury did not believe Ms. Brawley. I believe there was reason to pursue this situation.
One of the real victims of this case was the family of the police officer. They suffered the loss of their son through a horrible means, and then were subjected in the press to these allegations which had nothing to do with them.
I didn't bring them in the case, Ms. Brawley did.
Look at the backtrack. He didn't do it. Who was on the steps? Who was shouting the most? Who had the bullhorn? Who was marching? I didn't do it. Oh, interesting how this works.
For Ms. Brawley, I mean, of course we wanted the aspects of what her allegation was investigated.
It don't seem like y'all wanted it investigated, or else you would have had her speak to the people. You would have answered the questions. You would have been more forthcoming and cooperative. But, you know, we got to always look at it like black and white. That's it. That's all.
Pagonis was also vindicated in the report.
We accounted for virtually every moment of his time over the 4-day period.
I mean, isn't that the easiest way to do this? Where were you? Again, maybe not as many cameras, but imagine if he was on his shift at work and I don't even know how she came up with his name. Maybe somebody else did. They didn't get into all those specifics. What if he was at work 4 days? He went to work and then, let me stop.
And concluded he had absolutely nothing to do with it.
There's absolutely no way that this served.
Oh, well, wait. Al, that's not you right here under this sign in the midst of all this, standing right next to her, but you ain't got nothing to do with it? Okay, sir.
Any good social purpose. If you concoct a rape, then you undermine the credibility of women who are raped.
Was there a kit done? I'm just asking.
If you concoct a rape and turn it into a race crime, then you undermine true victims of race crimes.
About 6 months after the hoax was unmasked, Brawley's former boyfriend told Newsday that Tawanna had invented the scheme, apparently to avoid a beating by her mother's boyfriend after running away from home.
She ran away from home. She had been punished previously for staying out until 5 a.m. So it sounds like there was a male in the home, even though it wasn't her dad. I guess he was participating in life. So maybe she decided, oh no, allegedly she ran away from home and maybe it wasn't working out. So in order to come back home without getting in trouble, to not get in trouble, all this was concocted. In order to make sure she gets home without getting in trouble, all this was concocted. Sounding a little familiar.
But Brawley, who now works as a nurse under another name in Virginia, has steadfastly refused to explain herself publicly.
I'm not a liar and I'm not crazy.
What did I lie about? Lie about what? The grand jury to me didn't really exist. That was all a farce.
Brawley and her advisors lost a defamation suit to Pagonis in 1998. Maddox had his law license suspended due to his refusal to answer questions about his conduct during the case.
Ooh, going down with the ship.
And Mason lost his because of unconnected ethical lapses. Sharpton was
unethical.
Acquitted in a series of charity-related fraud charges.
Oh, Sharpton got away. Fraud charges for his charity. Was that the National Action Network?
I think that we, and certainly I, going forward, learned how to be more cautious. But I also think the media has not adopted a lot of its lesson. And I think prosecutors have not adopted its lesson.
Oh, blame someone else. Wash, rinse, repeat, anyone? Don't take any responsibility. I didn't hear any apologies from not a near one in this video. blame someone else.
The activist himself has moved on from the hoax that has altered the lives of so many others.
Barack Obama.
I told Reverend Al backstage, he's getting skinnier than me.
If we had something right or wrong, at least give us credit. At least give me credit.
Give him credit. Whether we got it right or wrong, give him credit. Wow. I don't hear an apology at all. Whether I was right or wrong, give me credit.
For a life that was geared towards social justice, even if you think I was wrong on some cases, don't act like I wasn't geared towards social justice. I have radio show, TV show, do lectures. I make a good living. Why am I doing it now? What's my point now?
Money, fame, notoriety, attention, being in front of people, more money, donations, money, fame. Politics being probably number one, actually. Well, 1.5 after money.
Maybe I really believe.
But after 25
Not an apology in sight.
years, one fundamental question about the Brawley case still follows him.
Did a crime occur, in your view, still?
Whatever happened, you're dealing with a minor who was missing 4 days, so it's clear that something wrong happened.
He's still saying, I think something happened.
Yeah. Well, listen, I was about to click and say the same thing. He ain't acknowledging nothing. So, in other words, as a pro-black, in my opinion, a black person can't do anything wrong. Ain't no way. You can't even say some holes in the story that we should have vetted through. Maybe we went too far too quickly. Maybe we should have sat her down and tried to get some real answers before accusing other people, lives ruined, people no longer here with us due to this. Nope. Something did happen.
Gosh, you're supposed to be a little bit bigger all these years later than being able to say, I think something happened.
Welcome to Politics Nation. I'm Al Sharpton.
One would think if he sold you such a terrible bill of goods on such a giant story that dominated news cycles for such a long period of time and proved to be a total hoax, that you might not show up at his next press conference with your camera crew. He has managed to transcend it magically.
And I'm sure there will be plenty of pro-blacks who would say, yay, Al. As we have seen, there's a lot of people who would support Carlee Russell, even though the story sounded absolutely ridiculous and not much of it made sense. But because she's black, they just want to believe it. That's a problem. Another problem of the community. As far as Tawanna Brawley is concerned, that's a chapter of history that still echoes in a lot of people's memories. I wish I could have more in-depth information, but I think that was plenty. Just a little brief look at the Tawanna Brawley case. A lot of similarities to Jussie Smollett, and even at this point, Carlee Russell. One of these days, hopefully we can stop shooting our own selves in the foot and black people can take a step back and start looking at facts instead of just looking at people's color and just saying that something is racism just because someone is not black. Also, it'd be great if black people start looking at what black people are doing to one another so that we can stop all this unnecessary deletions of one another and do something with our daggone gremlin instead of just allowing them to be out here doing whatever it is that they want. Deleting people in the community, mind you, not that they should be deleting anyone. I said, that's all. If you made it this far, I do appreciate you. Please consider subscribing. I will see you all in the next one.